Let's begin. Again, hello everyone. Thank you for joining in. It's a different time, I think today. Today it's again good evening, good afternoon, good morning to people from various part of the countries. Uh, Welcome to the session 11 of SAIMA. Again, the acronym says Salesforce Architects in Making. We are the group of people who are trying to inspire others to start this journey, or who are already in this journey, supporting them through variety of sharing variety of topics, or talking about variety of topics. And today we have again a great topic and two amazing presenters. Well, we'll talk about them more later. Right. So before we start, just wanna we are coming from variety of either meetings, or from either we finished our dinner or lunch or whatever, and we're coming from a different environment. And to be focused in this session, it's important that we are mindful. So it's a small mindful activity again, and we know what's going on. Again, we are grateful to be part of this session. So if we can just be silent for 60 seconds, take in deep breaths, and send positive vibrations to people who are going through variety of troubles, chaos, or whatever. So let's be mindful for 60 seconds. Okay. Thank you. Cool. So to come back to the session, I want to start with this amazing quote by an amazing person, Naval Ravikant. As he says, the universe is rigged in such a way that if you just want one thing and you really focus on it, you'll get it. But for that, you have to let go of everything. So as we know, as architects who are trying to pursue the Mount Everest challenge, which is becoming a CTA, it's important that we let go of all the distractions and only focus on one thing, and definitely we will eventually find it. And we have such great personalities with us already in the group who have already achieved this, and they could be the better judge to tell how they were able to get it by letting go of various other things, or sacrificing various things to reach that level. Okay, again, just to give a heads up for people who are new to this meetup, first time, just the leadership team who is leading this group is Neha, Meera, and Lilith. They are also in their journey of becoming a CTA, and they're really working hard to bring in variety of topics which are really critical, or sharing whatever knowledge they have, bringing in various speakers to this meetups, and yeah, helping us with this journey. So thank you again, and thank you to them for giving this opportunity for me to host a session. So as we know, the speakers for today are Neha and Johann. And we know Neha, she's a manager at Accenture, associate manager at Accenture. She's on the journey of CTA. Johann, already a CTA. Again, it's an amazing thing to be learning from you, Johann, and be part of this session. I'm Jayesh. I'm working as an architect. So a little bit about the topic. We have the topic as Salesforce Lightning Scheduler, and we are going to. It's not a demo or a presentation about the software or the tool. It's more about how this tool can impact in our current business environment, and how we can use this. So it's an architect's point of view to use this tool in our current business setting, or how the solution can help us going behind the scenes. Not every tool which Salesforce releases can be used immediately in our products or in our workspace. So how this tool can be used effectively, that is what the take will be from Johann and Neha. Um, just to tell you about the group a little bit, as as a SAIMA group, we want to support each other in this journey. And by sharing the content, as we discussed, we want to share the contents, bring in more ideas.
Just
And we're
shortly,
not
sorry.
Yeah.
Can we, Ashwan, can we maybe mute yourself? And Kishore, we have an echo. Thanks a lot. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if you, as we are trying to, 1 second, I think something went wrong. Yeah. So we want people to share content, more content in this meetup. So we want people to help us. Whoever has great ideas, you can reach out to the team, and you can present. If you have some feedback, you can definitely share. And definitely, we're not. Just a disclaimer: we're not affiliated with Salesforce anyway. All our content is personal opinion. Yeah. So some housekeeping rules for today, as we want everyone to be muted. And if you have any questions, please put in the chat. I will help ask the speakers. And also, if in the end, if you feel you want to open up for others to ask the questions, we can open up later if we have enough time. And if you spot any mistake or something, you can definitely correct us, give us a feedback. And if you want to present, you can reach out to us. So yeah. So as we know, today's topic is for Lightning Scheduler. I will hand over to the speakers, Johann and Neha. Over to you.
Yeah. Can you give the host access to me? Jayesh, can you give me the host access? Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
So okay, is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm here to present the Lightning Scheduler app by Salesforce, and all the information that I gathered is from the partner learning sites and my own experience of implementing a project in Lightning Scheduler, or Salesforce Scheduler, that is now known after Feb 2021. They have renamed it. So if you have any questions, or if you have your own insights on the topic that I might not have covered, you can ping it in the chat and we can discuss it in the Q&A section. So let's get started. So what is Salesforce Scheduler? So it's a tool which schedules, edits, or cancels the appointments for resources or customers on the Salesforce platform. And where it resides on the native Salesforce application. And you can book the appointments across different channels or even from bots. And you can meet your customers where they are and empower them to schedule appointments across a variety of different channels. And how does it work? It basically leverages all the information stored in Salesforce to book the appointments. And it is also capable of booking multiple resources and assets in a single appointment. Moving on to the capabilities, what all things a Salesforce scheduler can do with the capability of precision scheduling with self-service experience for users. You can have the ability to book customers' appointment with the right resource at the right time and at the right location. Remember this clause, right resource at the right time at the right location. This is going to help us in many ways while designing the data model, while coming up with scenarios for the technicalities of this product. So just remember this for now. Okay, you can with more capabilities coming out, you can allow your prospects or guest users or logged in customers to book and manage their appointments. The appointment booking experience is available in Salesforce communities as well, and can also be extended to company's website. And since it's built on the platform, so you can access data within the app and create a very personal experience on screen for users or your customers. And of course, you get the ability to embed the scheduler capabilities with standard Salesforce workflows for your objects like accounts, leads, referrals, and opportunity management. And it also comes with a Lightning scheduler template. There are template flows which which you and your admin can clone and customize to build a more personalized appointment booking experience. So when I say flows, there are some standard flows, 6 flows provided by the app that you can use. But if you want to customize it, you can customize it, or even your admin can learn to customize it. It's that easy. Alternatively, you can, your IT teams, sorry, there was an echo. Alternatively, your IT teams or your developers could leverage the business APIs provided by Salesforce to programmatically build a uniquely personalized appointment booking experience. So this is the overview of capabilities. And if you come across any such scenarios that are present in these capabilities, then this is definitely the right tool for you. But if we dig in a bit more deeply, what all scenarios can come, right? Who all can use and where they can use the Salesforce scheduler. So it can be used across financial services, it can be used across healthcare, retail, service, professional services, public sector, and automobile industry. But who all are your end users? Who are your actors that are going to be using this particular application, and what are they going to do? So first is your end customer, who is going to attend that appointment that you're going to schedule from the Salesforce scheduler app, right? So he will be a client, right? He or she. So as a client, let's look at the first grid, the financial services grid. As a client, I would like to meet the right expert at my preferred branch and time to discuss my financial needs and understand other service offering. Look at the bold words: the client, the expert, the branch, the time. And remember that clause: the right services at the right time at the right location. So we have to fulfill all the needs of our customer using this app. Now this end customer has scheduled an service appointment, and who is going to cater to that appointment is an internal employee. An internal employee can be a relationship manager, and he can facilitate meeting with the clients with his own expertise, right? And a call center agent can be a middleware who can assist the end customer with booking the appointment at a particular time, at a particular place, with a particular internal employee of the user. So these are the 3 personas or actors that are going to be playing an important role in accessing the application through various different channels, be it internal or external, or on Service Cloud or Sales Cloud. Wherever the user fits, he can book the appointment. But then there is one more user which is not mentioned here and is also playing an important part. That is the admin. The admin, he is going to enter the details, the specifics inside the applications, such as how many branches are there for my location. Suppose I'm working for a bank. There's a bank. A bank might have multiple branches, right? So who is going to configure those details, enter the data, and maintain them? Maintaining as in he has to enter the absent hours, he has to enter the operating hours of that branch. Moreover, these employees, these internal employees are also going to have their working hours, their holidays, their absentees. So that admin is responsible for putting in all the data. Initially, when you start or launch the application, you'll have to plan for a data load or data migration, which is another important step, which I'm going to cover next. But an admin is another person who is not going to be inside this flow, the business flow, but is going to also play an important role. So we have end customers, employees, and call center agents. If you might want to look at another business line of business, such as healthcare, if an end customer is a patient, he would like to schedule an appointment or health checkup visits with their specialists or doctors. Those are internal users, and might also want to have some sort of appointments that includes assets such as MRI machines or scanners or anything. So you are able to book appointments with your doctors as well as the right assets that are required for your appointment. That is also possible. Again, the employee would be your caregiver or nurse or doctor that is going to be available for your visits. And the call center agent, sometimes you call the hospital, the receptionist picks up and takes care of your appointment, right? So that would be your call center agent over here. So this is about how who all are using this application, what are the users about, what are their description, and where are they using it. And there are the other industries as well. Now, before moving on to the technicalities, the technical architecture, data model and stuff, let's learn about some basic terminologies or building blocks of Salesforce scheduler app, right? So first of all, we have appointments, of course, because they are here to book the appointments, right? An appointment is booked through Salesforce scheduler and is linked to entities like account, lead, or your opportunities. Then you have your service resources, of course. So who all are going to be available during your appointments, right? An employee from your organization, such as loan officer, investment advisor, or your doctor, your nurse practitioner, or whoever is attending the appointments with clients. Now, the person who is attending the appointment is supposed to have a set of skills that are required for that appointment, right? So we do have a terminology for skills, that is an expertise or certification that is available in your own organization. And that is required to cater the needs of your customer. Now we have service territories. Service territory is nothing but the branch or your office location where the appointment is going to take place, right? And when it comes to service territories, they will have some operating hours associated with it. So it specifies the time zone and associated time slots for a branch or an office location, right? Next comes work type groups and work types. So what is a work type group and work type? It's work type group is also called an appointment topic for the main agenda for which you are having this appointment, right? General appointment category or topics such as home loan or an investment. You're going to meet for an investment, you're going to meet for an home loan, etc. And work type is a template that is associated to your appointment and represents an appointment topic, that is your work type group, with an appointment location, that is your service territory, right? And it defines the key appointment parameters such as your appointment duration, your what is the preparation required for that appointment, what would be the wrap-up buffer. Suppose you're going for a doctor's appointment and the doctor requires some buffer time before your next appointment or appointment before that one, right? So you can just mention that in the work type. And of course, the availability timings of that particular service resource. So that is bit of amalgamation of your work type group and your service territory. And work type group is nothing but your appointment topic. So these terminologies are a bit confusing, but we'll have to get used to it once we start using the application, right? Now, I have one bank scenario, right, to get more of understanding of how things work inside Salesforce Scheduler. So let's take a use case of a bank wherein customer care user, that is an internal employee, logs into Salesforce interface and sets up a customer appointment with a bank employee. Now, who is booking the appointment here? Sorry, who's booking the appointment here is our internal Salesforce user. And the flow that he's using, remember the flow I talked about, the standard flows that are available. So he's going to be using the outbound flow on the Salesforce. Outbound as in appointment is getting booked inside of Salesforce for an outside user. So that's how I remember it. It's an outbound flow on Salesforce. Now, another use case would be a customer community user, our existing customer or consumer. He logs into our service community and schedules an appointment with the bank employee, right? So he logs into the community. So he's a customer community user and he'll be using the inbound flow on communities because he's making an appointment for an inside user. That is, okay, sorry, there was an echo. Now, the next scenario would be for a guest user. He's not part of your organization. He's neither a customer community user. He's an unauthenticated consumer, right? He lands on a help center community and schedules an appointment with a bank employee. So who's the user? Of course, a guest user. And again, Salesforce has a set of flow for the guest users known as guest flow on community. You can use that to implement the particular scenario. Now, when it comes to other line of businesses and other scenarios, always remember of these basic scenarios that I've used here and try to map them while coming out with a solution. I
good presentation.
think-
Nice solution.
I think there's someone
That's
talking.
the areas which I think we can discuss
Piotr,
data.
can Neha, can you maybe mute him? You're the host. Piotr is
Yeah,
talking.
yeah.
Like
I'm trying
sharing
to find
helps,
him.
not we convince about sharing.
Yeah, happens. It's fine. Thank you. Okay, so what I was telling was these scenarios are basic scenarios, and whenever you come across any situation in your maybe a CTES scenario or real life scenario, you can always map it and come out with a user and flow solution with this chart. That's how I remember it, right? And oops, this is the basic system landscape to help us understand that uh, Salesforce scheduler is native to Salesforce. You can have it installed, take the license and run it on top of Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, or Health Cloud, and even use it from your public facing sites such as Experience Cloud from your mobile users or your browsers for the end customer or end user. Now, coming to the most interesting part of this session is the data model. So to understand the data model, let's remember that clause, right people at the right time, at the right location, right? So what are we doing here? Like we are doing an appointment and we are doing it at a service territory, right? So let's look at the service territory, which is the center of this data model. Salesforce has done a great job at putting out the differentiations in the legends as to what color represents what type of entity. That's why it's easier to understand what kind of area we are looking at, right? So when it comes to service territory where the appointment is taking place, right, it is representing a geographic location to calculate the appointment times against the location. The service territory must have service resources, and we have service resources over here, correct? And operating hours associated to it, right? So what are the operating hours of that branch and who all people are working for that particular branch. So we have service resources. Now, when I say service resources, yeah, I said people are working, but then there are assets as well. You can book your assets for that particular location. That's how it's associated to an asset and a user, right? And it also mentions the resource absence, which is again categorized inside the operating hours and time slots that we have associated with the uh, service territory or the location. Now, coming to the operating hours, these are representing the timeframes when a location or a person is available for appointments, and both are taken into account in deciding the service resources are available to take appointments. Now, we have service resources somewhere. Yes, these service resources, these are the people who handle the appointments, right? And each service resource should be associated to a location or a service territory, like I mentioned. So we covered the location, we covered the time, and we covered the who or what is going to be present during the appointment. Now, when we say about who is associated to the appointment, of course, that who is going to be a person, but it has to come up with some certain set of skills. So we have skills out here. These skills are attached to both service resources and work types, and they indicate a skill set a given appointment type requires, and they're also mapped to service resources. These people are have assigned skills, marking them as meeting the requirements to handle the specific appointments. So only the person with right skills and the right work type are going to be available for scheduling the appointment. Eventually, the goal is to put the right resource of the right skill set in the right location at the right time. That's the main agenda of the whole scheduler app. So let's not forget that. I kept on reminding you again and again. Sorry, I think that was a lifetime. Okay. And let's not forget about the work type groups I explained earlier, right? These are the containers that hold the appointment topic, right? They represent a label for the type of conversation you want to have with your customer. And we also have work types, and these are the templates that determine the appointment parameters, like I mentioned. They drive the standard duration, requirement skills, buffers, and availability horizon of the appointment type. So that's all about the basic data model of the appointments. Of course, you're booking the appointments, that is all the center, and the service appointments is always related to the your lead records, accounts, and opportunities as to what, suppose it's a hospital or it's a person account, whatever you want to schedule a service appointment with or a contact. And you can also map it to the events in Salesforce. These are the standard objects that are present for the scheduling. So this is the basic scheduler data model. I hope I'm not going too fast. And now the data model is clear to everyone. I'll move on to the limitations and challenges personally, what I faced and what I saw on while I was exploring Salesforce Scheduler, right? So when you try to, first one is when you try to generate a series of events using Salesforce Schedulers, and some of them date to future after 1 year. So suppose today is 23rd of April, but if I try to schedule something for 24th of April, 2022 or 2021, sorry, it's 22, then I won't be able to create that. The scheduler won't give any error or something. It won't just create the service appointment for you. That's one limitation or challenge if you're trying to create some series of events. So I never faced that sort of scenario in my project. But when I saw this issue at one of the blogs, not the blogs, in one of the help articles, I thought of one workaround I can share with you, and we can debate whether it will work or not. For some people, it might work. So the solution can be, whenever service appointment gets created, you can check whether the date of that service appointment is later than 1 year. And if it's later than 1 year, you can maybe store it into a staging object or temporary entity, and maybe run a batch job to find out whether, if it's less than 1 year, then create a service appointment for that particular event that got missed by Salesforce scheduler. So we don't miss out on any events. That's a workaround. But then what if in case of emails or um, or SMS that you want to send just after the service appointment is getting created, you won't be able to do that immediately. Maybe there's a workaround for that, but I'll leave up to you to figure that out in your own scenarios. So that's one limitation I saw. There's one more limitation on the mobile device, that multi-resource scheduling on a mobile device is not supported. In terms of languages, right to left languages such as Arabic is not supported. And concurrent scheduling and multi-resource scheduling don't work together. So you can schedule either of them in one single service appointment, right? And Salesforce scheduler doesn't support multi-day scheduling. So if you have an appointment for more than 1 day, 24 hours, you might want to create multiple appointments. But then again, there is a hitch in this workaround, that what if you want to send emails? It will send multiple emails, or what? I will leave up to you to decide. But that's one limitation I saw it. And there's one observation and bug that I saw while scheduling the appointments using the standard flow, that when I was selecting a territory and then I was moving to or territory or a location, right? I was moving to the next screen of the flow. And I thought, hey, no, this was not the branch I wanted to schedule my appointment in. So I clicked on the back button. I went and changed my territory and move forward with the further screen flows. It did not take that new parameter into account. That is the new territory or location that I selected. So the workaround for that would be to go to that flow, edit that flow, and remove the back button, because it doesn't work. And if you want to create your customized flow, you can always create that with the customized back button. So that is one observation. And one thing is, I thought that these terminologies initially for an admin user, especially who's not technical, are very hard to understand, like work type groups, and they're present everywhere in the related list, and then setting up the hours. And if he's from a complete different industry, you might want to change the labels or give him the translations for those objects that are present. And one lesson that I learned, that always plan your data load and migration for these uh, data that is to be feeded before you start your scheduling app. I know this sounds a little like that, hey, we'll have an admin, he'll put the data when he finds out the branches and everything. But don't underestimate that. That's a lot of work. So one thing I would suggest is to always plan the data migration or data load of your operating hours, your branches, or your skills or resources, everything in advance, and just plan it according to your organization first, whether it fits in or not, right? And of course, so these limitations that I found out at my own um, discovery, but there are other further limitations as well. on this particular application, but you can always find them on the help article on Salesforce. And the pricing and packaging comes with two packages, which is the lightning scheduler pricing and asset scheduler pricing. If you want to have your asset schedule, like your MRI machine, I said, the room and everything, you'll have to buy a different license or a package. And the basic package of lightning scheduler pricing will come with multi-resource scheduling, inbound scheduling, the guest appointments, and setup assistant. And it is available with these as an add-on with Enterprise, Unlimited, and Performance editions, and can be used with Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Communities, Win Services, Health Cloud, Manufacturing Cloud, etc. So when you want to suggest a solution for the Salesforce Scheduler app, always remember these entities, whether it supports the Lightning Scheduler or Salesforce Scheduler or not. Oops. Now, it's a basic template of the governance and timelines I would like to suggest for the implementing the Salesforce scheduler. So first week, you have to spend in your understanding your business requirements as a discovery phase. You have to define the user experience to create, modify, and cancel the appointments. You have to define the security, the OWDs, profile, permissions, and sharing rules before even you start the project, because there are so many personas, and they could be guest users, they could be community users, internal users. It can be a bit puzzling, right? So define them well during the discovery phase. And then when you plan it in the second week, you think of the integrations, whether it needs integration with your Outlook, Gmail, Marketing Cloud, MS Teams, or Google Chat, because your customer might want to sync their calendars with the appointment events inside Salesforce, right? And there are various ways to do it. There are various APIs, there are various customizations for that. So always think of that thing when you're planning the application. And like I said, the second point, data. The initial data load or data migration or data maintenance planning, you can do it in the planning phase. Now it can take up to 2 to 4 weeks to build and load the data for the Salesforce scheduler implementations. So from week 3 to 6, you can do all the configuration, initial data import, sprint 1 demo, sprint 2 demo, final data import, and complete development demo and UAT training for your users, and take the feedbacks from them and change whatever is required out of them. Then in the last weeks, week 7 to 8, this can get reduced if your build completes, if your customization is not more, right? You can just go into the phase of validation and go live. You can do your QA testing, SI testing, UAT, go live checklist. You can create them and implement them. You can go to production, do the documentation, and be ready for the customer support. So this is the basic timeline that I've prepared for a Salesforce scheduler app. It should not take more than 8 weeks to do the implementation alone for the scheduler app. But then, well, it depends. And I have taken references to a lot of references to learn from the Trailhead. Then I had joined the chatter group on partner community. And of course, there's a good course on partner learning camp with the workbook for hands-on. You can always try that. Go to the trial.org and always try out this amazing application that we have. Thank you so much. I will now move the meeting to Johann, so he can explain how it can help us during our CT exam.
Thank you very much, Neha. Thank you so much. Especially I have to say your observations and the timeline was really helpful for me. I want to share my screen.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So I have an issue. I never use Salesforce Scheduler. What now? I want to become a Salesforce CTA, or my customer asks me to architect Salesforce Scheduler, but I never implemented it. I never have hands-on experience. What do I do? This is the overarching topic I want to use today, because this happened to me during my CTA preparation. I never used Salesforce Scheduler, and I think most of you will not have hands-on experience with Salesforce Scheduler when they go for the CTA review board or when they are asked by their customer to architect something. And this doesn't only happen with Salesforce Scheduler. This happens with several topics that we just don't have hands-on experience. What can I do? Before I start, this is again my personal experience, and please always check with Salesforce for the latest information. What I do is always the first step, literally always. I go to the marketing homepage. During my CTA preparation, and still today, I learned that I spend a lot of time on the marketing slides of Salesforce, and I watch every video. And let's do this together now. I actually prepared the link. Oops, sorry. And afterwards, I will explain why. Can you all hear the sound now?
No.
No?
No, I can't.
Does anybody know how I share the sound?
Yeah.
When you
Johann,
share
in
your
the
screen, you have to check those 2 check boxes to share the computer sound.
Okay. Sorry, then I do new share sound, yes. Okay, and optimize for video clip because it sounds cool. Does it work now?
Your customers. With Setup Assistant, you can streamline the appointment scheduling experience by walking through setting up important pieces like locations, hours, and available resources. Assigning skills to ensure more efficient appointments. And creating appointment topics to best serve customer or employee needs. With the help and training and trailhead links available to answer any questions. You can add Scheduler to your website, letting customers easily schedule and manage their appointments. While out-of-the-box flows lets them search for resources and select their appointment topics. Then, customers can meet through the channels they prefer. If a customer isn't already in Salesforce, Scheduler can capture new information and automatically create a lead. Once an appointment is scheduled, service resources see it reflected on their calendars, with an option to have time blocked off before or after specific appointment types. When resources click into an appointment, they can view the customer's contact record to create personalized, efficient appointments, and easily schedule subsequent meetings right from the contact record. Multiple attendees can be added to a single meeting to ensure all customer needs are met. And assets can also be scheduled in, like a conference room. Then, managers can track the number of appointments across locations by type, resource, and status, while using Salesforce survey tools to understand customer satisfaction. See how to bring digital and in-person experiences together with Salesforce.
What we just saw was the best summarization of Lightning Schedule, of Salesforce Scheduler you could ever think of. We all know to become an architect, you have to be able to explain topics short and precise. And who does that better than Salesforce itself? Who does that better than their marketing material? They covered the actors and licenses. In this video, they covered the system landscape, they covered not the data model, but they covered the business capabilities, they covered the reporting, and they covered a couple of additional information. So there was a lot of information in this 3 minutes, and it was already prepared in a very short manner. There's a few more things I have to consider when I study or prepare for any topic like the Salesforce Scheduler. I have to think about org strategy implications. I have to think about how does it work in the system landscape? What is the data model like? What is the security like? What is the deployment and governance? And a little bit what alternatives do I have? And in the next 15 to 20 minutes, I want to go over them in details. But before we go into that, if I take a topic like Salesforce Scheduler where I don't have experience, I follow always the same steps. I start with the marketing content, what we just did. I watch all the videos I find on YouTube. I read all the documentation on the website. Then I do the trailhead and if possible, a certification. I think this is where Gaurav and Georgie are ahead of us. They already did probably all certs. But the trailheads is usually a really good place to start. But I don't just do the trailhead. You remember back this list? I use this list to already create my notes. So first I create this list, and then when I do the trailhead, I take meticulous notes. The same is I get community knowledge like blogs, videos, oftentimes something like Neha just did. This is gold. What Neha just gave us is really, really valuable. Just how her experience on data migration. This can be the maker or breaker of your next project. Then something is really boring, but you have to get good at. When I got better is read the help documentation, every single page, end to end, a couple of times, and again take notes. And these notes, Martin and Svet are in the call today. They know it. Become the cheat sheets. This is what Flow Republic really teaches you, how to create cheat sheets. I will go into them a little bit later. And only when I have done all of this research, I start to apply it to scenarios, either to review board scenarios or to made up scenarios. I discuss it with my friends and colleagues. And lastly, what I would do in your situation, once I have done all of this, I would contact Neha and ask her, hey Neha, can we have a call next week for 30 minutes? I have a couple of questions. Make sure you are prepared before you go into these expert interviews, but these expert interviews can also make a huge difference. And before we get more the cheat sheets, I can't stress this enough. All the time, take notes all the time. Collect the knowledge for easy access. So I always have a lot of links in the cheat sheets. It's always structured around architect level. It has learning. It has also a huge section usually, which is I don't understand yet. This is basically my to-do list for later. So when I get stuck with a topic, I put it on a to-do list for later. I don't obsess over something I don't understand, like the data model. I have to admit, in Lightning Scheduler, a Salesforce scheduler, it took me quite a while to understand it. And I think Neha explained it really well. It was on my to-do list for a long time. Then I always rework and restructure my cheat sheets over and over again. This is not a dead document. It is a living, evolving document. And lastly, I mean, again, I can just, Martin and Svet know that, discuss it with your study buddies, with your friends, with your colleagues. Make sure you covered everything. It's very easy to miss stuff. With that out of the way, I walk you a little bit, not through my cheat sheet. I mean, can't share here. It's a little bit different. It's again the actors and licenses. Neha already showed us this really well, and I think this is what we got from Neha. We can even condense it down. We have service employees, we have managers, we have asset managers, and we have customers. The assets need the asset scheduler license. The service employee and the manager needs the Salesforce scheduler license. And because these two use schedule appointments or oversee scheduling, and the asset manager only books rooms and equipment, and the customer doesn't actually need a license. This is also important information. Who doesn't need a license? They can use for inbound scheduling. They can just use it without an additional license. And in the system landscape, also think about it. It's fully native to Salesforce. So yes, it's really well integrated. It doesn't have to be integrated via ESB. It works natively with Service Cloud and Sales Cloud and Experience and a couple of industry clouds. And it's fully integratable via REST and SOAP. I have to make a little bit caveat here, but not skills, because skills are a metadata object and it's a little bit more tricky. So I actually made a mistake here. I have to say it's mostly fully integrated, as it's mostly integrable via REST or SOAP. So we also already covered the second point, system landscape. Now the data model. There is no way around hard brute force memorizing the data model. I would say the Salesforce scheduler is a must-have for every architect, not because you mightn't use the Salesforce scheduler itself, but it's just a good data model to know. It teaches you a lot about how to model data. So every time, I'm personally not that good of a data architect, so I usually copy concepts from others. And one concept I, for example, learned here is this work type skill requirement, skill service resource, skill service resource. This is a concept I can reuse with other customers, even if I don't use the Lightning Scheduler itself. And what I did during my preparation phase a lot is I drew this data model over and over and over again. Just create a PowerPoint, draw it, delete it, draw it, delete it, draw it, delete it. I did that for days on end. At some point, it becomes second nature and you can just draw it blindly. And I think especially when you go for the review board, but even if you just want to become a Lightning scheduler expert, I think the data model is something we should always have in our head. This is just so fundamental. Business capabilities is something Neha covered really well already. Match the customer with skill, location, and time. We can't stress this enough. Remember this sentence. So we have either persons or assets, which are scheduled either via outbound or inbound scheduling. I like your way of remembering it, Neha. I also have always issues remember what is what, but okay. Inbound is if the user does it himself, the customer does it himself on the website. Outbound is when I do it for the customer. This is how I remember it. A little bit more, because you remember from our list, we have more. We have to check about what are the multi-org implications. Do we have cross-org resources or customers? Do we have cross-org reporting requirements? How do we cover the deployment and governance cross-org? This is quite the topic. Then reporting. Good news is we can use standard Salesforce reporting because it's the standard Salesforce data model, but not for skills. Security, again, standard Salesforce security applies. Again, not for skills. Because, or I'm not making a mistake here. Metadata, skills are metadata. Please help me out here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is also important to know when you do the data migration and when you plan it. Some is metadata, the skills, some is records, like the users, and this I added just while I was listening to Neha, it can be a delivery risk. So you have to make sure that you address this risk of, like Neha said, that this takes time. This is not something you can just do the week before go live. And lastly, deployment and governance, something also we have to include it in the project plan. We have to define the critical path, which can be the data migration, and we have to build a governance around who makes sure that the skills and the resources and the service territories are always up to date, long term, not only initially. Does this have to be part of our COE or is this managed locally? Again, I think this is something which can also, again, tie back to our org strategy. So if we have a multi-org strategy, we might have local teams, while we have a single org strategy, we have a global team. A lot of different implications. So this is topics we have to think about. So it's much, much more than just to know the tool itself. It's all the areas around the tool. And lastly, we can't just rely on always say Lightning Scheduler, Salesforce Scheduler. We have to know alternative solutions. And it's always the same three alternatives. It's either build custom in Salesforce yourself, which can be a solution, can be done, or use App Exchange apps there. And if you, at least I did that, and I recommend to you the same, research them. Go on the App Exchange, check out these apps, see what they can do. Again, watch the videos, read the documentation, check out the data model they use. And the last option always also is off-platform. Either build yourself again in AWS or Heroku, or use something like Calendly. So we always have alternatives. It's never just Salesforce. And with that, I can already finish today's episode of, or this week's Road to CTA, Salesforce Scheduler. It was not so much about the scheduler itself, but more about how do I approach a topic I have no idea as an architect. And with that, I can stop and we can open the questions.
So there's some similarities between Lightning Scheduler and Field Service Lightning. Right?
Lightning Scheduler is a subset, is an element of Field Service Lightning. It's not overlapping. It was part of Field Service Lightning at some point. It became a standalone product.
So when you want to decide whether you want to use the scheduler from the field service, just remember that here your customer is coming to your place while you're booking the appointment. But in case of field service, your internal user is going to the customer to provide his services, like a plumber or a delivery guy or anything. So that's the basic difference when you try to differentiate between FSL and your scheduler.
So as far as memorizing the data models of the two FSL and Lightning Scheduler, is, I suppose, easy to potentially
overlap. Yeah, okay. And there are some considerations when you're using both there is a good help article that you can refer. A lot of considerations and limitations while you use both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Andy also already told us in the chat that the Salesforce help is always the most current source for all correct configuration steps, and I can only agree there.
And also, scheduler, it's not like you wanna try to implement field service lightning for each customer. And if you want to be rather, you have just sales licenses and you still want the scheduler functionality, you can just buy basically licenses for that and do not have to go for the whole FSL functionality.
From licensing perspective, you need licenses for both the internal users that are like scheduling the appointment, and in the case of like an outbound scheduling, you need a license for the customer as well. So it's like both the receiver and initiator, is that right?
No. With Lightning Scheduler,
No.
the receiver is just a contact.
Okay.
They can even
and then if
doesn't have to be a user in Salesforce.
Okay, so if the person being scheduled with is a customer community user, then they don't need a Lightning Scheduler license. It's just the person doing the scheduling.
I don't think it's per user, but I'm not sure. Still, it is possible on the community to also use Lightning Scheduler for external users.
So in case of external users, when we have customer community plus license, then it's feasible. With just general customer community license, it's not adaptable basically. But when you have both of these things, you just have to provide your OWD and the object level settings, profile level settings to the objects that are used for inbound scheduling, right? And then you have to just drag and drop that flow that you have used for the appointment and it will work.
And this is if your customer user is the one doing scheduling, right?
For
customer
themselves.
community plus license or partner license.
Gotcha.
But
it won't be with the basic community.
It's like for the person doing the scheduling, it doesn't matter if someone is scheduling for you, the person that the appointment is for, it doesn't need a license, basically. I think I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Neha, contact can also be a parent of service appointment, because when I went through the trailhead, only account, opportunities, referrer, those objects.
Contact can be associated, like it was there in my data model, and a contact can have multiple service appointments for it, right? So yes.
But the schedule appointment button, the Lightning button was not visible on the contact object service.
So did you try to drag and drop it on the page layout like it is there on the account?
Yep. I did not see the button.
Then I might have to check that one, because as far as I remember, the relation is there. You can definitely select the contact while you are there in the flow.
I'll double check the document as well.
Yeah.
And where does, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if I'm not mistaken, because I just played with this, the parent, there has to be a parent record to the appointment, and it can be a lead, an account, or opportunity. I don't think it can be a contact. You can associate it with a contact, but you have to tie it to one of those. That's what I remember.
Yeah, I remember the same.
Yeah, so even if you associate it with the account, right, you in the flow, you'll always get an option for the contact to select that contact, right?
Okay.
So you start your flow from the account, but then you'll get an option to select the contact.
Yeah, in the end, you schedule the contact, obviously, but the problem, it doesn't accept that as a parent. And in fact, I think the reason is because contact is a master detail and takes the sharing and visibility from account or something. I don't know how they or why they did it that way, but that's how it is. Account or lead is not the contact.
Is it a polymorphic lookup field actually from the appointment to the account or opportunity, or is it two different fields?
It's not a master, it's a lookup. But then see, if you're going for an appointment to a hospital, you'll always go to that hospital's page as as a receptionist, right? As an internal user, you'll go to that appointment hospital's page, you will just click on schedule appointment, and then you'll see a list of contacts, right? That are going to be,
And the
yeah,
contacts
you just
don't
have
have to
select
be
in the flow.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's still mostly built for B2C, or is it also working with personal accounts? Do you know?
Person accounts, yeah, that was one question. I think it works. I don't remember it properly. I saw this question in one of
I think I saw that it works too. Yeah, I mean, I think it was shared.
works.
I don't have experience with it.
Guys, what about Schedulo as an alternative app? This is what Salesforce is using with Vaccine Cloud. For some reason, they went with that and not with the Lightning Scheduler. Is it
So
powerful?
Schedulo, yeah, it has its own perks. It has its own advantages and cons, right? So from my personal point of view, yeah, you can use Schedulo. It's based on the AWS platform, right? And it has an App Exchange app of itself. So what it does is that when you install your App Exchange app in Salesforce, you get to enter your questions. You get to enter all your details that you want to ask to the patients when they're on the public portal. So you don't have to expose your user or buy licenses of Community Cloud. Schedulo is going to host that on their AWS platform itself, the public site, right? So there is not going to be any registered user or anything. So the user just comes in, goes to the Schedulo site or the Schedulo hosted our website. We'll just answer the questions, fill in the forms that we configured using that App Exchange app, right? And my experience, it's again a maintenance from your developer's point of view. You have to just initially you just have to put the authentication and everything, and we faced a lot of issues, internal issues, some issues with Schedulo. Even Schedulo was very responsive on solving those issues, but then it's a long process. It's an easier way if you don't want to have your Community Cloud users. It gives you capability to send SMS, emails as and when the appointment gets created. And it's Health Cloud, the logic, vaccine logic for selecting doses, and then vials and updating your inventory. Everything is there inside it. So they have this full-fledged project for scheduling. It's another day, another topic to cover if we cover Schedulo.
And when I can follow up there, if you go for an off-platform solution, so coming back to the, as an architect, you have to think about security, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Because then you have to, coming back, then you take the whole list of considerations again. Okay, what do I do if I have a multi-org implication? How is the implication on my system landscape? Maybe if I have multi-org, what is the implications on my security, on my reporting? So this is, make it a habit of always go through all this.
Yeah, one loophole here. So when the customer is entering, when the patient is entering their data, so the data is PII, right? Their name, their email, their phone number, everything. So it's been getting entered by Schedulo's hosted website, but then when it comes to Salesforce, we encrypt it using Shield. But then when it is coming from Schedulo to Salesforce, I think it's based on batch data synchronization, and I'm not sure whether it's encrypted or anything. I've never asked that question, but that's a question.
But if it's using TLS 1.2, then it would be encrypted on the transmission. Okay. So usually if they use TLS 1.2, it's always encrypted on the transmission.
The security question here would be: is it also encrypted at rest? I think you don't store anything in AWS, as far as I understand Scheduler, but still it's something to be mindful of.
I would also have another question regarding synchronization with the standard event object. So that we have normal this, when you invite additional attendees, you have this parent object, which just the owner can change, and then you have the child objects. So imagine you now scheduled something with the Lightning Scheduler and you want to reschedule it because the due date changes or whatever. Does it also affect in the parent and the child event records, or is there any conflict?
Yeah, I came across this sort of scenario once wherein we had to cancel the appointment, but then the owner of the event was someone else, and that's what you want to ask, right? The owners are different.
Yeah, for example,
yeah,
from the business perspective, we have here some different sales guys working, and some sales guys are scheduling events for other sales guys, and then the invited one wants to change then the schedule. it's not possible because
not possible. So there was a workaround, a very bad one. We changed the owner, we edited it.
We don't share bad ones. We don't share bad
very bad
workarounds.
workaround.
No.
Yeah.
The circle of trust, okay? Circle of trust.
Don't
tell it on your CTA exam, but that's the workaround.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I typed up a question actually here. It's
Yes. I'm going to the chat questions now. Just
okay.
because,
And if you're gonna go through those.
Yeah, I'll go in the order as we received. So the first question came from Rutika Patil. She was asking the question: does meeting object play any role in Lightning Scheduler?
I don't know if the meeting object is there. I've never heard of it. I'm sorry. Does anyone know about the meeting object?
This is the first time I'm hearing about meeting object.
It's completely new object. I think it's since last release or something. And I don't think it's involved there anywhere, no.
I'll add it to my to-do list then.
Yes, my
like
to-do.
said.
Okay,
Yeah.
meeting object.
Yeah, we learned something. Yeah. So other question, I think Shiv Prasad asked his question already. So I'll move on to the next one, which is Mung. I think I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Can we schedule recurring event?
Yeah.
Mung is asking. Yeah. Okay. Other one from Andy. Andy, you want to ask, or like I can?
I can ask myself,
yes.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I just configured the scheduler. I just happened to have this project last week, and to me, a person who just looked at the whole product and then configured it. To me, the product seems to be kind of incomplete without handling the outbound emails and the invites for the calendar and confirmations. How do other people solution this? I guess in many scenarios, the huge orgs and companies probably implement this, and they have already a solution for that, and they tie to that. But in my case, the use case didn't call for individual scheduling. I wanted to hide the resources from the people who are scheduling the appointments, which I can. But in the end, I don't want the emails to go out from individuals to the clients to be confirmed and booked. And the product doesn't really offer any solution related to that.
So in a crux, you want to ask that whether when I book an appointment, it's not going into my calendar.
It's actually, I'm not asking about the Salesforce user. I'm asking from the perspective of the external user. Like I'm setting up, well, in my use case, actually the individual the client was going to a community and setting up the appointment with the Salesforce user, right? And they are confirmed, they see the information. I can send out an email to them generated by the flow, but it doesn't have a calendar invite unless I generate manually a Google Calendar invite, which is a silly URL link, and
I think there's a solution to that. I think that you have to enable one setting wherein it generates a platform event. You have to do it programmatically after that you subscribe to that platform event and write a trigger or streaming API and update your calendar using Apex.
Andy, I just checked my list of app exchange idea and I wrote it down.
Okay.
Literally, I had to implement this email to calendar invite, so I saw it too often. Great idea. Thanks a lot.
No, it is. I mean, it is such painful. It took me like a full day to manually configure a Google URL link to generate it. And then I fiddled with Microsoft Outlook Live or something, but still it's not the complete solution. I mean, this is, I'm not even sure why we haven't solved as the whole IT world, the whole Google Calendar and Outlook Calendar thing. There are 4, 5 links in everybody's emails. But anyway, that's a bigger question, I guess. And then Neha, one last thing, your observation about number 6, is that recent about going back in the flow and it's not updating?
Yeah, it's a thing in flow actually. When you build a flow and do a back button, it doesn't take the old new parameters. So.
Because there is a new radio button in the screen flows now in the last release. If you check that, it forces a recalculate on the back. I haven't tested it with this one, but it might work. So, I mean, if you go to your screen element and then you go down, there is actually a radio button that forces a recalculate on the back path.
Again, on my to-do list, yeah. I will check it.
It's an idea. It's recent, and I've seen that there are a bunch of bugs related to those flows in Apex components, and they've been fixing them. But I don't know if they fixed everything. Sometimes it does silly stuff.
Yeah.
I'll ask other questions. So Abirup was asking, how about compliance and Lightning Scheduler? Are there any features available to address compliance?
Johann, you might want to take that compliance thing.
Nothing I'm specifically aware of. As my biggest pain with the whole Lightning Scheduler is that the skills object is a metadata object.
Yeah, so compliance as in for the data, from the data perspective, is it, Abhirup? Like
Yes,
when the guest flow is in progress, I think you can update that flow to ask for the consent from the users, that if they provide the consent for sending them emails and storing their information that they're providing in this form and everything.
As far as I understood, the flow is more a starting point than a finished product, correct, Neha? Or it's
it's a standard template, yeah, that they give, and then you can update it or clone it and create it for your own organization, and you can add compliance to it for the guest users, I believe.
Thanks, Neha, for the info.
Other question from Shiva is, where does Kronos bot serve and use cases?
I haven't used it yet, but maybe on the public sites it does have their code, or I saw some sort of code that you can deploy it on your sites just like omnichannel, and it works, but I haven't used it personally.
It's with the embedded services, just like Snap-in or Live Agent or whatever it's called these days, right? Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks. It's also on my to-do list now. I leave with too many to-dos from these meetings. So I have...
the last question which I see is from Varuna. Can you share, you talked about the considerations when we use FSL and Lightning Scheduler together. So if you have any help article, I tried to search, I couldn't find, but any help article where it talks about the considerations of using both of them together? There
is a video. I have to search right now and I'll ping it in the chat while we go through other questions.
Yep, I think that's the only questions which we received via the chat. If anyone has, we can ask 2 minutes. Open up from the audience. Yeah.
So I will share my biggest pain points with Scheduler. My problem is, so you use basically, it's just a creation of a flow. You have this template, and then you can just use some web components which Salesforce built for Lightning Scheduler, like for instance, seeing, I don't know, availabilities of resources and so on. And you cannot look into the code of this web components, or you do not have any base web component which you could use and maybe change for your specific needs. So you just take the web components as it is, you use it or let it go. So you cannot just, you cannot decide on if you a little bit change the web component.
This is painful. They didn't make it open source like the lab solutions?
No, you cannot.
It is terrible. And the stock screens have weird information on them. For example, the appointment review screen has parent record displayed. It says parent record. That's the title. And you can't remove it out of the page layout. You have to recreate the whole thing if you wanna do a nice screen. It's
you have to have a validation inside your flow itself and just not give an error or anything.
And also one other pain point, I think the documentation of this web components, of the input variables and output and so on, is so badly written. I really was like, I was just building a really easy flow, and I had to try a lot of stuff like for 2 days, and at the end the solution was pretty easy, but it was not easy to find any information on it. It was really such a pain.
Sorry to hear that. It's always sad.
Don't we get it when we use flows many a times? Not just this particular scenario, but wherever
So
we are using flows.
unofficial Salesforce, right? They also have this this components that you can use, and where this is better documented than anything about scheduler. Sorry, I don't want to feel like I'm always positive, but this was really like freaking out.
Even Salesforce has their own limitation page for this one, which is like filled with a lot of things, not unlike other products. Yeah.
Does anybody know from a history, was it something Salesforce bought at some point? Or did Salesforce build it themselves?
Well, FSL is acquired. So if they spun it out of FSL, then
I have to take that back. I'm not 100% sure if this is actually true. I always thought they spun it out of FSL. Maybe they didn't.
No, I don't think so, because this components that you use in scheduler are completely different than the FSL ones.
Okay.
It just feels like that to me. Now I'm going to go into gossip probably. It feels like a big client asked them to do a solution, and they fixed it up and they used it there, and they never turned it into a real product. To be honest with you, this is not a real product. It's terrible. I mean, the way it's finished, the way it's documented.
I have to say that data model is clean. It's so much cleaner than most other stuff. I mean, if you compare it to the CPQ data model, I agree. It looks like it was built in one go.
Like, I think you mentioned it in your presentation, Johann, but what most of the times what we do is, while we are solving the CTA scenarios, we take some piece of CPQ model and put it inside our solution. We don't want to use CPQ. We don't want to go out and answer those questions, right? So maybe might as well do it over here as well. Take some piece of data model wherever that's required, pull it in and customize it. So that is helpful.
Yeah.
There's one more question which has come in the chat by Amay. If you are scheduling everything, are there invoices in the scope? Because he didn't see in the data model, and should we indicate this with the Salesforce billing for invoices?
Okay, so going to the basics of what Salesforce scheduler is based upon, it has to schedule the appointments with respect to resources and people, like external people meeting internal people. So I don't see invoice or billing fitting it here in the data model, but if Amay, you can explain the scenario wherein it could be an asset or a resource, a skill or something, then we can probably come out with a solution. Otherwise, Johann, you can help.
No, I'm completely lost here.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think this is not to know about details. If it feels weird, it's usually not the right solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the issue with, looking into the videos. Of course, what you told, like, about what they sell, it's a really good summary, to check, okay, what it can do. But at the end, the usage is a completely different thing. And I cannot architect around, this, what Salesforce tells me it does. You know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like, okay, if I haven't used it, I need to use it before I tell the client, please, yeah, let's use this. Otherwise, I would go for an App Exchange app where I exactly know, yeah, what happens there. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
And maybe this is something I can tell from a poorly CTA experience. You trust the documentation and you trust Salesforce. So try to forget the bad experiences you had, or whatever personal experience you have. Go with the flow. Go with Salesforce tells you. Assume it's correct.
No, the idea is pretty nice, actually, because yeah, you can customize it yourself, which is cool. And you don't have to build this web components yourself, which is great. So yeah.
So I assume you can have a quite fast turnaround, or like 4 to 8 weeks to build it in a project. Faster even, if the customer is quick.
You mean to customize it or to rebuild it?
No, to customize it, sorry, to get it up and running.
That's not so much. You can, I mean, if you do it once, then you can get it up and running in one day.
Okay.
It's like building a flow and you know the components already. It can be even faster. It depends what the customer wants, of course, but yeah, you just have to know basically the whole data model. You have to know, which territories you're creating and stuff, and what are the resources, and
So Amit did share some context around that. He was trying to maybe say that a B2C cycle won't be completed without invoices. So maybe he's talking about the invoicing the customer for scheduling a meeting. Is that does that complete the question, Neha, for you, or like it's
Yeah, I can answer that. I think it's invoicing is not in scope of the Lightning Scheduler. The Lightning Scheduler is really a standalone product, kind of, in this sense.
Okay. Great. I think that's it for the questions from the chat which we had, Johann and Neha. Again,
I have
thank
one
you.
question because Varuna asked about like considerations like using FSL or Lightning Scheduler or together. I don't think I ever seen companies using that together. Anyone has one use case about that? I think it's either or, because the FSL anyway has this functionalities, and you would always just use, if you don't want the whole FSL building up, use Lightning Scheduler. This is my understanding, but maybe maybe you have some other thoughts. You have some use cases where it did, where any customer did it both.
There can be one use case with the telecom companies, right, where you want to go and get your SIM repaired, your chip repaired for the phone, right? Then you have to visit the particular branch of the telecom counter or kiosk that is nearby you. But then if there is some issue with your broadband router or something, wiring or something, then they have to come and visit you.
So you basically use them in parallel, not overlapping. For
I think you went on mute or something.
Yeah, you're on mute, Johann.
I was checking my speakers. Johann, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Oh, damn. Johann.
I think it's
You're
mutual.
Mute. You're mute.
We're not able to hear you, Johann. Can you say it again, Johann? We're not able to hear you.
No, it's not working. I don't know. Something happened. Maybe you have to log out. Log in again.
Hello. Now it's going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My headset died on me. Hey, sorry. Now the emotional moment. It is a year ago, almost a year that we had our first SAIMA session. And thank you very much all for showing up, for being so regular users. I'm super happy about that. Thanks for Neha, Mira, and Lilith for taking over the group, making sure it stays strong. And thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great presentation, guys. Liked it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Good job. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
See you all later. Bye.